How's it going? Dave here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking all about the Ionian mode and how to create music with it. So the Ionian mode and the major scale have the exact same notes, the same exact intervallic structure. We're playing a root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh, but depending on the context we call it Ionian or we call it major. So before we talk about all the cool ways we can make music with the Ionian scale, let's quickly run over what makes something major versus Ionian. So in a major key, when we're saying something's in a major key, it's implied that there's a tonic-dominant relationship. So to summarize, the dominant is chord 5 in our key. So in the key of C, chord 5 would be G or G7. And that G7 resolves back to the 1 chord, which is C. Okay? That is because we have what's called a leading tone, which is the note B, which leads us nicely back into C. B, C. Alright, so when we're playing in a major key, that is what is technically implied. So a real common chord progression using a major key would be the 1, 2, 5, 1. So we're playing 1, which is C. Then we're moving to our 2 chord, which is D minor. This is known as a subdominant chord because it comes before the dominant chord. And then we play the dominant chord, which is G7. And then it resolves back to the 1 chord, a tonic. So I've made loads of videos on how to write music in a major key. So I'm not going to cover how to make music in a major key in this video. You can check out all the videos I've done on that, and I'll link stuff in the description. So now we've talked about what a major key is, let's talk about Ionian. So Ionian is of course made up of the same notes, we have the same exact chords available to us, but it's not dependent on us using a dominant chord to resolve back to 1. We could maybe even play chord 2 leading back into chord 1, so D minor into C major. We could maybe do chord 6, so A minor, going back to C major. Alright. Now of course that dominant chord has more pull and gives us stronger tension leading back into that C major, but sometimes you may not want to do that, and this is where Ionian is great. So of course you can create chord progressions using Ionian, but the way I really like to use Ionian is to use the root note as a pedal tone and build harmony on top of that pedal tone. So we are going to be using in this video E Ionian. So the notes of E Ionian are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp. So what we want to do is of course have our E in the bass, and then what we need to do is find the dissonant intervals in our key, so the semitones. So whenever there's a semitone between 2 notes in our key, we're going to utilize those and build those on top of our E pedal. So in the key of E, we've got G sharp to A, that's a semitone, and we've also got D sharp to E, that's a semitone. Now when we play them at the same time, they sound quite disgusting, but if we play the low E, they still sound dissonant, but it sounds quite nice because we're playing it in context of E Ionian. It sounds quite pretty. So let's take a look at where we can find these dissonant intervals on the fretboard. So first of all, let's talk about G sharp and A. So first of all, 4th fret of the low E string and the open A string. You can play those two. Then we've also got the 11th fret of the A string and the 7th fret of the D string. We've also got the 6th fret of the D string and the 2nd fret of the G string. We've got the 13th fret of the G string and the 10th fret of the B string. And we've also got the 9th fret of the B string and the 5th fret of the high E string. So if we can play those on top of an E pedal, that sounds quite nice. And then we've also got the D sharp and E. So let's take a look at where we can play the D sharp and E. So of course we've got the 11th fret and the 7th fret. So the 11th fret of the low E and the 7th fret of the A string. We've got the 6th fret of the A string and the 2nd fret of the D string. We've got the 13th fret of the D string and the 9th fret of the G string. We've got the 8th fret of the G string and the 5th fret of the B string. And we've got the 4th fret of the B string and the open E string. So let's try playing some of these over an E pedal. Sounds nice. Now we need to add some extra notes in. So we're going to have some spare fingers available to us. And what I suggest doing is experimenting with other notes in our scale to create these cool chords. So, for example, let's take the G sharp and A. So G sharp on the 11th fret of the A string and the A on the 7th fret of the D string. What we can do is we've got our middle finger and ring finger available to us. We could play the 9th fret of the G and B strings with those fingers. And then we've even got an open E string available to us as well. So we get this really awesome sound there. What else you could do is maybe, let's take the D sharp to E now. What we've got is we've got the same two fingers available to us. So maybe we could play the 4th fret of the G string and the 5th fret of the D string. That sounds really nice as well. Here's another one I like. We can play 4-4-4 on the D, G and B strings, and then play the open E string, and we get that dissonance between the D sharp and E. Okay, and play a low E in the bass. Very nice sound. And maybe we could even play 13 on the D string, 9 on the G string, 12 on the B string, and 11 on the high E string, and ring that low E out. Try and mute that A string with your little finger. Very nice sound there as well. Now, these dissonant semitones don't just appear as semitones. What we can do is we can lower the higher note. So, for example, we've got D sharp and E. The higher note is E. We can drop that down an octave, we get a major 7 interval. And we could even raise the E an octave, and we get a flat 9 interval. Okay, so what we can do is we can add these major 7 and flat 9 intervals into our chords as well. So if we try and build a chord like this, we've got the D sharp on the 1st fret of the D string. We've got the open E string, that's our flat 9. We could let the B string ring out as well. And we can maybe play the 4th fret of the G string. Then if we play that low E, then we get a major 7 interval as well. So we've got a major 7 and flat 9. Major 7, flat 9. Very nice sounding chord there. We could also go for the G sharp to A. So G sharp is on the 6th fret of the D string, and A is on the 7th fret of the D string. We can drop that 7th fret down an octave by playing the A string. So we got this open A and 6th on the D. And then we could maybe build it up with the 9th fret of the G and the B strings. And then play that low E in the bass. That sounds really nice. So when you're writing music, you can use these chords, and all you've got to do is make sure that you maintain kind of a low E, or whatever the root note of your scale is, pedal. Now, I've written a short piece using E Ionian and some of the chords that I've shown you. Take a listen and enjoy. I'll be back in a second. So that's the kind of sound you can get with the Ionian scale. As you can hear, it's very different from a song that you would hear in a major key, like a pop song or, I don't know, a rock song or something like that. Experiment with the Ionian mode. It's a very cool sound if you can dive deep into it. If you enjoyed this lesson, make sure you click like and subscribe to my channel. And also check out my book, Chord Charisma, which is available down at the link in the description, my Patreon page, if you sign up to the gold tier membership. And that book is going to show you everything you need to know about writing really awesome sounding chord progressions for pop, rock, neo-soul, R&B, all these kinds of modern genres that you're going to need to write chord progressions for. And if you're not sure about if you want to get the book, the first 2 chapters are available for free down in the description as well. And those first 2 chapters are going to show you exactly how to create a basic sounding chord progression in a major or a minor key. And then it's going to show you how to build that chord progression into something a bit more advanced using extensions like 6th, 7th, 9th, 11th, and 13th. And you'll be creating some really awesome sounding chord progressions just from those first 2 chapters. So definitely check that out if you haven't done so already. I'll see you in the next video.